we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Joy for the Journey Conversations. And I'm here with my good girlfriend and sister, Dr. Irishea Hilliard. Hey, friend.
Hey, friend.
Thanks so much for doing this.
How are you?
I'm great.
It's a pleasure. I mean, when you asked, of course, we were going to make it happen. So I'm glad to hang out with you and be a part of this new venture. Yes. And, joy in the journey is so fitting you. So I love it.
Thank you, friend. And by the way, I just want to, again, congratulate you on crossing the burning sands. You are now officially part of the Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. Come on and do the pyramid. Yeah. Those of us that can't yet.
It's okay for me to do it.
You can.
Of course, we are excited to be.
One day I'll be able to close my hands. One day.
One day. Look, don't get in trouble right now. Just one day. One day.
Yes.
But no, it's been a journey. I'm so delighted to be a part of it. And, I know a lot of people have their different thoughts about sororities and fraternities. And so it wasn't something that I went into lightly. It was a lifelong dream, but I also understood that as a pastor, I had to really make sure that I didn't do anything that violated my core convictions, my faith. And so I like to say it like this: I'm forever and always a Jesus girl, but it's good to be a Delta girl as well. So
yeah, I'm so proud. I'm happy for you too. I'm really happy for you. Remember, we talked about that years ago. That was definitely a goal and dream of both of ours. So I'm still headed there. I'm on the journey to get there.
On the journey.
Listen, on the journey, girl.
And when it happens, you're so appreciative of your journey. Like I'm so appreciative that I didn't throw away the dream. And I'm sure we'll talk about that, because there are seasons in your life where things happen.
Yes.
And you put your dreams on hold, and to get to a place where you can start picking those dreams back up and knocking them out and doing that, it's so fulfilling.
That's so good. And in case you all missed it, our audience missed it, she mentioned that she's a pastor. So for those of you that don't know, my friend became a pastor. What year did you get installed? Was it 2018 or 2019?
2018. My father passed the baton on New Year's Eve night, so January 1, 2018, and I had my official installation, I think like February 23rd or something. I probably know that date, but February 2018.
And you are doing such a fantastic job, friend. I'm super proud of you. I was there the night that you that everybody had your installation service, and I was so grateful to be a part of that and to witness you getting installed as the official senior pastor. So what a great journey you have been on.
It was a historical moment, and it's been a journey. It's really been a journey that I'm glad that when moments were hard, I didn't throw away my faith. I didn't throw away my determination, but I stuck with it. So yeah.
Well, that's why I called you on this Zoom little recording today, and because both of us have a lot of things in common. We're both in ministry. We're both moms of two wonderful young men, and we've both been through a divorce. And
absolutely,
when I met you, I can't remember the year it was, but I remember we were in New Orleans at a Project Gideon conference.
Yeah.
And I remember you were in the lobby on your phone. You were on your phone, and a bunch of us were going to dinner. And, I saw you. I knew you were there. I had never officially met you. I just heard of you, seen you from a distance. And I just walked over to you, like, I don't meet a stranger. And I invited you to come to dinner. And first you were just like, okay, we'll see. I was like, come on. I was so persistent. I think you probably just did it like, let me just shut her up and go to dinner with her. And we've been friends ever since.
We have, at that time you were married, and I knew your ex-husband more than I knew you, because of the circles that we ran in, and me being a youth pastor and all of that. And so New Orleans was my first time meeting you, and you were like, hey, and we really did just click from that moment. Most people don't know I'm an introvert by nature. And so, I was there, there were some couples, there were some singles. And so my thing is go to the sessions and just, I'm cool with eating in my room or just venturing out by myself, but you wouldn't let me do that. And I think it was, I like to say those are the divine moments, because it gave me an opportunity to see you. And I don't have a lot of, back then and even now, I don't have a lot of first lady friends, but I'm very big on, especially in my single state, in the position that I have, of making sure that I do connect to the wife and make sure they know that, hey, no, it's nothing like that. I'm you know how big I am on that.
Mm-hmm. And that was something I never had an issue with, never had a problem with, never wondered or questioned about you. You're a woman of integrity and grace and class. So that was never an issue. And you were my friend. I just felt like we had more of, it wasn't just a ministry thing, connection that we had. But it was definitely divine. That divine connection was definitely a huge factor. And, like I said, we have, a lot of things in common, just life things in common. And watching you from a distance, how you handled your divorce, and I'm talking about life after divorce, and being in ministry after divorce still. You not knowing then, when I first met you, that I was going to end up going through what you went through. And it's like you gave me a roadmap, if you will. And, you gave me a pattern to kind of follow how to go through something so traumatic, so horrific, so painful, but still come out on the other side with grace and class. Tell us how you kind of went through your journey.
It's amazing. November, I'll be divorced 10 years.
Wow.
It's been 10 years.
Oh my God.
And I know, can you believe it? And so, like you said, I have 2 boys. And so here I am going through a very public divorce. I was a pastor at one of our locations during that season. And, he was at church one Sunday and the next Sunday he wasn't there. And, having to navigate through that season where you've got a lot of outsiders looking in.
Right.
There's only, I always say there are only 3 people that know the true story, you, him, and God. Right. Everybody else can have their assumptions or speculations. So, they say divorce is like a death, but the difference between the grieving process of somebody who actually dies, the difference is every time you have to exchange the kids, they resurrect from the grave. And so, you're going
sounds like a zombie. It sounds like a Halloween story.
Yeah.
Ooh, so you're trying to bed. That's so true. That's a great way of kind of putting it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's it is statistically and scientifically, I will probably say, proven that divorce is like the death of a loved one. And so you're grieving it, but like I always say, when your spouse or anyone that you love passes, you either, you do the cremation, you have a grave, you have the service, and it's over.
Yeah, it's divorce, a finality. You have closure.
You have closure. The difference with a divorce is that even though the judge hits the gavel, there's still, when there are children involved, there's still this whole adjustment. And while everybody's trying to go through the stages in their process, it can get very sticky and very, very difficult. And so, how old
was Ivan and Jonathan when you first got divorced?
So that was 10 years ago. So that means Jay was probably 8 because he's 18. And both of our youngest sons are named Jonathan. I think mine has, without the H, yours has an H. And so they're both named Jonathan. So Jonathan had to be about 8. And Ivan was probably about 13 because they're 5 years apart, 4 or 5 years apart. So they were in that age range. And so while I'm picking up the pieces of my life, I'm having to be very present as a mother. And so there were some things that I had to do because I had to establish myself as queen. I had custody, not to get into the details, but my husband, my ex-husband, Jesus, let's say it right, ex-husband.
Say it right.
Ex-husband. For a period, he went to work overseas, so it was out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
So in the midst of all that, I still had to pick up the pieces of my life, because what I had planned and what I thought was going to happen is now shattered. And so for me, it was, my mom said something really key to me one day was, you got to dream again. And that's what I set out to do, is I started dreaming again and living for the benefit of making sure my children had a healthy, whole mom, which meant, you know, I had to bite my tongue. Healthy and whole.
Healthy and whole. That's good, Rach. Yeah.
And you know, for me, I realized in the course, because I went through that season, and like you said, you could learn from some of my mistakes, because I didn't get it perfect all the time. I went through the season of, you know, going back and forth. I've been through the child support situations. I've been through all that. And God told me one thing in the midst of the process. He was like, you know, my ex-husband was rearranging our child support, and I got that paper.
Rearranging.
Yeah, rearranging. He took me back to court to really reduce his child support. And I got those papers, and it was like a ton of bricks hit me. Yeah. And my dad had preached a message that Sunday before about, in Psalms 23, how it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And he was like, it's just a shadow. And so I had to say to myself in the midst of that, and, you know, I'm upset, and, you know, I'm nice now, but I got another side. And God said to me, have I not provided for you? That at every turn, have I not provided? Yeah. And it was, who's your source? And I said, God, you're my source. He said, well, if I'm your source, act like it. And so that's when I
right there. Pause for 1 second. Because I think a lot of people need to hear that. A lot of times we'll look at, as divorced women with children, we're looking at our exes to be our source, but they're not. They're just a resource.
Yeah.
God is the source.
He is the source. And when that resource dries up, he will provide. And so when I got a hold to that, you know, and I know I'm a little different, I stopped, you know, when you gonna send me my money? Like, you know, I kind of turned into the real, conversation. And I realized I was more in control of the peace in that dynamic than I thought. And when I took on the posture of peace, and I took on the posture of being the bigger person, that's when things shifted. My kids started, you know, my son started opening up to me more. Okay. The challenges that we were having, we stopped having, because I refused to let it shake my peace. And I wasn't going to
refuse to let it shake. Come on, don't be just dropping the nuggets and running.
You know, I did. I refused to let it.
It's good.
Yeah, I had to decide to stop letting it shake my peace. Because I mean, we had some real situations. Just because I'm a pastor doesn't mean, you know, my son, the son that we share together played football. And so when he came back into the States, now we're both at the football games, and you know, the new wife is showing up. You know what I'm saying? So I've been through all of that, and I had to just say, this is not worth you losing your peace. And I made a commitment to God that if I was going to truly see him as my source, that God was my source, then there were certain discussions I just refused to have with him, because I wouldn't give him that kind of power.
That is so good. Don't give your power away. You change the perspective and the lens of how you looked at everything when you decided to choose God as your ultimate source. That's so good. That's so good. I mean, I've gone through a lot of the same similar kind of things. And so, like I said, friend, you were definitely giving me a pattern and a roadmap of how to handle certain things. Like, and I went through my little too.
Yes.
But
you did.
Not worth it though.
But I lived you through them. You know, I remember one moment in the early stages, and I've maybe said too much, but in the early stages, you know, you were like, it's time for me to live my life. And I was like, no, Joy, it's time for you to be a mom. Like, you gotta, everything else comes secondary. Like, don't miss these moments. don't let somebody else step in the gap. You have to do this. And so I remember that talk we had. You were like, well, I'm just gonna do me. And I was like, Joy, listen to me, you know, because I had been there, and I, you know, for a whole year, I think I shut down my calendar.
Okay, I'm so glad
you know,
you brought that up.
I wasn't traveling to preach.
Yeah.
I was just at home to be a mom.
Was that your choice? Or was that your parents' choice to, you know, so that you can heal? Like, whose choice was that?
Well, it's almost twofold. So my board, our advisory board, because it's not a board ran church, but my advisory board, when we sat down and talked, even though I had not done anything wrong, they asked me to wait 90 days before I made my decision.
Okay.
And so that time period of waiting the 90 days. Huh?
What decision? The decision to get divorced, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
He had left, we had separated, he was living somewhere else, and they asked me to just wait 90 days before I would do anything. Okay. And so I did. I waited 90 days. And I think, you know, and like we talked about privately, when you go down that road, you want to have a peace about it. You want to have an assurance about it. You want to have no regrets, because again, your children are going to respond very differently to this. Absolutely. And so because I knew that my kids would have a different response that I may not even really fully been prepared for, I wanted to be in the position where I had no regrets, that I would be like, I'm 100% okay with my decision, knowing that there were going to be some challenges up the road. So they asked me to do that. They didn't ask me to shut down my calendar, but I think the hand of God intervened. And, you know, just like I believe God adds things to my calendar, he kind of just slowed it down, and I was okay with that. And
benefit to slowing down, you know, when you get divorced, whether you're in ministry or not, but I'm specifically talking about ministry. Do you think it's beneficial for women who are going through a divorce to slow down, if not just press pause for a season?
I think it depends, because I was still preaching every Sunday.
Okay.
I was still preaching every Sunday. I was still Bible study. I was still doing my home ministry assignments.
Gotcha.
But I knew the demand of being on the road, and I didn't want to miss those moments by being on the road. So that's when I put on hold.
Gotcha.
I do think you ought to give yourself some time to heal. You know, one of the things my dad asked me to do, and at that moment I thought, oh, this is really unfair, because he had went into a whole nother relationship. But my dad asked me to wait until my divorce was final before I started dating or talking to anybody of the opposite sex. And so at first I was like, he not doing it, you know, and I've seen other people not do it. But I can honestly say that time of really getting to know me, reassessing myself, asking myself the hard question, what role did I play in the failure of this relationship?
That's a good question.
Position me for what was to come. And I think a lot of times we, especially in the church world, we find out who's at fault, and we say, oh, that's the person that blamed. And so because we find out the person who's at fault, then we say, well, I'm good because it wasn't my fault. Right. No, it takes two people for a relationship to fail. And I had to say honestly to myself, what role did you play in the failure of this relationship, so you don't do that in the event another relationship comes about? Yes. And so those, 9 months, because I think I filed we separated in March, I filed in June, and we were divorced by November. Wow. So that's season from March to November.
Friend. Wait a second. We have the same pattern, pretty much. 1 month. Separated. We separated in March. I filed for legal separation in June. He filed for divorce, and it was done by October of the same year. So all in the same year that happened with you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was a good season of my life. And, you know, we've talked about that, because you have to really get to know yourself all over again. Absolutely. You know, the only time I lived by myself, I was in college. And so now to be living by myself, and, you know, you got the bills, you got the kids, you got all of this. There were some things that I I needed to reassess.
Yeah. It's so funny because I felt like, I had grown up for the very first time, just, being on my own. I'd never been on my own, except for through college, living by myself. Then right after college, got married, was married for 25 years. And so it was like, I had to just relearn, who is Joy? What is Joy like? I changed everything from the color palette of my bedroom, my furniture, because everything you consider the other person. But now it's like, okay, well, I can choose what I like, just different things like that. But I really find it fascinating that how did you go through still preaching every week while you were healing? How did you go through that process?
A lot of prayer.
Yeah.
I think you have to be very careful about the people that you allow in your circle.
Absolutely.
My father, because, I had it all. And that's kind of how we connected and really me saying, Joy, I'm going to ride this with you.
Yep.
A lot of people were like, because of my position as, the pastor and all of that. And, in the boys club, let's just be real about it. I'm in the boys club.
Yeah.
I knew him before I knew you. Mm-hmm. But for me, it was, you got to have the right people in your circle that are going to speak truth to you, but also cover you.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things, and we talked about this, because people were coming out the woodwork saying stuff, and I'm like, you don't even know me. Mm-hmm. Or people that did know me that went on Facebook and said stuff about me, and I'm like, but I text you personally to tell you what was going on.
I'm not one of your Facebook followers. Like, we are real friends in real life.
Yeah, like you've been in my house, like, and you're on Facebook bad mouthing me. And so this is when my dad said to me, he said, those who are for you, and those who are not for you, those who are for you, and those who are not for you will never. Those who are for you need no explanation, are for you, and they need no explanation. Those who are not for you will never accept the explanation that you give them. So stop trying to explain it.
Oh my God. I need you to just repeat that one more time. Those who are for you, do that again. That was so good. And
those who are for you, and they need no explanation. But those who are not for you, they won't accept any explanation that you give them. So don't waste your time trying to explain it. And when I settled in that, I lived in my truth. And I stopped trying to, I didn't air my dirty laundry, or, I didn't bash him. And there's only an intimate circle that knows some of the details. But again, it was those who are for me, you don't even need to know. It's like, I'm on your side. Those who are not. What you say?
Like, who you are, the ones that are for you, you are.
Yeah.
And those who are not, those are the ones that have the most to say.
And the most questions.
Oh my God.
And I've always been this kind of friend. Like, okay, Joy, I don't need the details. Where we ride? What's the play? And even, I don't know if you can remember this, because I said, if you stay, I'm with you. If you choose to stay after all this, I'm gonna ride with you. Yep. If you choose to go, where we going? Okay. But I knew that had to be your decision. And as a friend, I'm gonna ride with you till the wheels fall off. As a friend, when certain things happen and I'd be like, Joy, now come on. So you gotta have those people in your circle. And so I think me being able to minister was, I had the right covering and people around me. Yes. It took a lot of prayer. And then, growing up in church and doing ministry, my father taught me something years ago. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of in the early days when me and my ex-husband started having some challenges. I remember one day he made me so mad, and I showed up to church, and my emotions, I went and sat in the balcony. I was really cutting up. And my dad said, when you get here, you leave your mess at the door.
Right.
Nobody cares like that about what you got going on in your personal life. So you check that stuff at the door. You can pick it up when you finish, but don't bring it in here. Right. And I know that it sounds harsh to people, but it helped me separate in my mind that when people were coming to church, they weren't coming to hear my problems. Right. They were coming to to receive the word and the anointing that God had given me. So I knew enough to switch.
Yes.
And yeah, there were some days that I'll be honest, I cried before I went out, just because you're adjusting to life. And, God sent the perfect armor bearer in that season. And she was there in that season. And, she's with the Lord, but she was the perfect armor bearer in that season. And, it's like, she covered me.
Yes. Ooh, it's nothing like
I hate to talk about it, but she really did cover me. I would be in the back crying. She would be in the corner praying.
Woo.
And it was nothing, she never asked a question. And I think the hardest part about that, she was in a fight for her life herself, but she understood her assignment. And I think that's the thing about, we have to always understand our assignment. If God assigns you to something or to somebody, it's not personal sometimes. It's just you operating in your assignment. And she was on her assignment. And I'm forever grateful for it. So yeah, I think it's covering. Prashia moved in with me for a little bit because I don't cook. So she moved in and cooked and just was a sister. Your circle is so key in moments of transition. Man. And you want to make sure that you have the right people. And when those certain people, the people that you thought would be their exit, don't fight with God. He loves you enough to cover you from people who don't have your best interest at heart.
Friend, listen, where do I send my love offering? Because you are preaching today. You are doing
oh God, okay. I'm gonna get it together.
Because those are things, you experience the betrayal and the abandonment and the rejection of people who you thought were going to be there for you and ride till the wheels fall off. And, and it hurts when it first happens, but man's rejection is God's protection, and the whole explanation. I mean, everything you've said so far is just so wonderful. And I wanted to talk with you because you definitely have been, you were and still are one of those ride till the wheels fall off friends that didn't necessarily pacify me. I know that you were mad with me and hurt with me and stuff like that, but you never were like, well, you need to get him and da-da-da. You were never that kind of friend. But because of your position, nationally, internationally, just globally, and the brand, I was still concerned about your reputation being tainted because you were associated with me. And so why did you, after everything that I had gone through, that you still was like, I'm still riding with her though?
I think it goes back to, some lessons that I've learned over the years. And I really live the Bible. And if I say I'm your friend, then I'm your friend. And a friend loveth at all times. Even when you look at the friendship of David and Jonathan's dad wanted to kill David, but he was still his friend. And even when there were disagreements, they protected their friendship. And so I think sometimes we think that friendship means that we have to always see eye to eye. But as your friend, I can love you where you are and love you through those seasons of your life. I think the other thing for me was, while I did hear some of the stuff, like, people lied on me, like just flat out lied, like, tried to say I was the one that leaked it. And I was like, let me just tell y'all something. I didn't even tell my mama until my mother told me that you had talked to her.
People said the same thing about me. Nope.
Yeah, until my mother had told me that you talked to her, we weren't having a conversation. Because before it got leaked, what most people don't know, we had conversations, me and you.
Right.
On some rough times. Right. And you never heard about it. And you won't hear about it.
Never. Now, that's one of the things I appreciated about when you're in ministry, you don't know who you can trust, first of all. And so some people want to be in your life for, hidden agendas and ulterior motives and all that kind of stuff. But when you're in a vulnerable situation and you're connected with somebody, a covenant relationship, you want to trust that what you say to them is not going to come back and boomerang and bite you in the behind. And I never heard anything, because I've shared some very intimate things with you, hard things that I was going through, and I never heard it come back from you. Never.
Yeah. And you won't, you know, and so when that was going on and, you know, I guess people saying, oh, what's gonna, like, feeling like that, okay, well, I won't be accepted in this camp. I'm like, okay, my thing is, and I got this from my dad. God made my name great, and he's going to keep it great. And I told you that. I was like, God made me. God made my name great, and nobody can take that away from me. And even in me supporting you, you can tell, as much as, you know, we talked truth, and as much as I knew you were upset, I would not bash your ex-husband. Nope. I've never publicly bashed him. I will not bash him, because we're still colleagues. We're still in the fight of faith. I'm praying for him, you know, and being able to hear your transparency in that moment, I'm not going to put my mouth on it. You know what I'm saying? And we've had some good talks, you know, and I'm a good girlfriend. I'll be like, girl, you sure right. But as far as bashing, no. And I think that's a hard spot for people to be in sometimes. But I really live my life that a friend love it at all times, and we can disagree. And if I can't love you in your darkest seasons, I can't love you in your good, in your great seasons.
That's so good. You know, one of the things I'm grateful for a lot of things about our relationship, but one of the things I'm so grateful about is that you introduced me to your parents. And like when I first connected with you, I didn't connect with you to get to your mom or dad, but you invited me to come to one of the Women Who Win conferences, and I've been coming I think I've only missed one since we've gotten to know each other. And but having that relationship with your parents, or having that connection with your mom and dad, was so crucial, because in that season when I did get divorced, you know, you and your mom invited me. You were the first church to invite me to minister after I was divorced. And like, why did you all even do that? I don't know I never even asked. Why me? Why did you do that?
You know, I think it's, for me, it was, I would say more so, and I'm trying to figure out the right word, I want to lift you up. I wanted to lift you up in all the seasons, you know, even when it was tough. I was like, okay, Joy, you know, come here and just stay, get yourself together. I'm not the friend to just talk about what you need to do. If I can help you, let me help you. And so, you know, I think it was, first of all, I'm not one to misuse my pulpit. So I definitely want to say it was a God ordained thing, because I'm not just going to invite somebody just because they're my friend. I don't do that. But I really felt, if I look back in that season, it was more, I knew you needed that lift. You know, while we saw others surrounding, you know, and you needed that lift. You needed that reassurance, like, get back out there. You know, I learned a great lesson. You know, my son played, and everybody knows my son plays football. And so when his first varsity games, you know, his nerves got the best of him, and he fumbled the ball. And I remembered, and I watched in that moment, his coach taking him on the sidelines and just reassuring him. And then he was being mentored by one of the upperclassmen. Okay. And he went over there and he talked to him, and he, you know, poured into him. And then, you know, where you're thinking, okay, this sophomore has dropped the ball, they're not going to put him back in the game. You know, a couple plays later, they put him back in the game. And I think we have to be more of the body of Christ, that when people fumbles are a part of life. But are we there to reassure you that you can get back in the game? And that was my thing. And I believe I was on assignment almost in your life at that season, to just keep saying, Joy, get back in the game. You know, a lot of times when you go through divorce, you doubt your gifts, you doubt your ability, you doubt, you know, well, what was wrong with me? You go through this whole self-assessment thing, and you have to have people in your corner that just lift you up and tell you, get back in the game, that the anointing of God didn't change because you're divorced.
Right.
The assignment that God has for your life, it may be in a different direction, but he still has an assignment for your life.
And he didn't.
And I think that was my thing for you.
God did not change his mind when it comes to our assignment. That's something Dr. Jazz said to me the other day. We were talking, having this Joy for the Journey conversation. And she was like, God didn't change his mind. You know, before you were married, you were anointed. Before you were married, you were called. Before you were married, you had a purpose, and he did not change his mind after you got divorced. And you definitely have been one of those friends for me that has been a lifter for me. And I'll never forget, this might make me cry. The first year that I had my anniversary of my divorce, you know, not the divorce, but the first time I had a wedding anniversary, you know, after the divorce, you called me, you knew it was coming. And you were like, come to Houston. We're going to hang out. We're going to have some girlfriend time. We're going to shop. We're going to eat. We're just going to have fun. And I remember before that even happened to me, you told me someone did that for you. So it's like you were paying it forward. And I just thought that was like, man, you treated me, went to the spa, we got massages and just went to Eddie V's and we just ate and laughed. And, you know, that was like, wow, you wanted to make sure I was not left alone. And I'll never forget that, Irishea. If you don't do anything else, the way you just lifted me up for that particular day, because you know, that's a trigger. And you did not allow me to, I didn't have a trigger. I mean, of course, you know, the day came and it's like, this is weird. And it was going to be number 25. And you're like, nope, you're going to get through this, friend. I'm going to be right here along with you along the way. And you need friends like that. So I'm so grateful to have you in my life. Not just as a girlfriend, but I've eaten the word from out of your mouth. You know what I mean? So you've got like all these nuggets. I've gotten so much truth and wisdom and revelation from things that you have said. So it's not like, let's go to, you know, you introduced me to Henry Bendel. Like I got my ring on that you got me, matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got it on today. And just, you know, we have fun doing that kind of stuff. But when the rubber met the road, you were there for me. And you've said some hard things. You've said some things I didn't always agree with, like we said, but I listened to you. I took your advice. Like, that's how you know a person's got an open heart. You know, when it's said in love, you never bashed me. You never made me feel condemned or convicted for anything. But I remember, you know, I was invited to minister somewhere and you were like, friend, that might not be a good idea right now. And I was like, what? My name's on the flyer, my face, and they've already made the announcement and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, friend, I don't know. Spirit of God's telling me this is probably not a good, but it's just the way that you said it to me. And because you've never said anything like that to me before, I listened.
Yeah, you did. And I was so proud of you in that moment because I knew from a church standpoint that you didn't see what was really going on. Like from a political church stand, I was like, and instead of being the friend to look at it and talk about it, I called you myself and I said, cancel it, fix it, and don't get in this fight. This is not, don't be a pawn in this fight, because this is a strategic fight that you don't even realize what was going on. And you listened, and I applaud you for listening, because we've had, you know, like you said, we had some great girl times, and you know that's what, you know, the beauty of our relationship is. There's friendship, but there's also the trust and the mutual respect for the anointing, because again, before that, like you said, you poured into me when I was sitting there by myself. You poured into me when I think it was something happening in Colorado. Come on, you can stay in my house. So to pour back into you wasn't hard because we've done this before. It's just a different you needed a different kind of pouring.
Yeah.
And I knew the effects of holidays. While we can be very churchy and very spiritual, when you're at a table for one, the hardest thing, holidays, I still have to be like, Lord Jesus, give me grace. Like, I have to fill my calendar, fill my time. I have to have a pre-plan, because the enemy uses holidays, especially when you've been through a divorce, to get the best of you. And so,
those are major triggers. I'm a big holiday girl. Thanksgiving and Christmas, oh my God. I got Thanksgiving. I mean, I usually have Christmas decorated in my house November 1st. Like, probably like right after Halloween, it's Christmas everywhere in my house. And so that was a big deal. And those are triggers when you have a lot of family around and everything has shifted now, you know?
Yeah. And so, you know, that's the easy part. The girlfriend stuff is the easy part. Let's go to the spa. That's the easy part.
Yes.
The hard part is speaking truth when your friend needs truth on the journey. And, you know, and I knew sometimes you didn't like what I said, you know, but I felt like my choice to remain your friend and not leave you hanging, I had to fulfill that role. And it wasn't just, oh, I'm her friend on Instagram. I'm so over this people being friends for the cameras. Right. If we never took a picture together, I was going to be your friend. Right. If you never even had this moment with me, I've done my part in that season as your friend, and will still do my part. You know, I think we do a lot of stuff for the social media and the looks of it, and not really for the purpose of it. And I knew for me, I had a purpose. Like you said, you had to grow up real quick. And I remember one conversation, it's like, and you know, I really don't remember like little details like this, but I remember, I think we were sitting in my car and I was like, Joy, this is business. Get out of your feelings. Yep. Handle your business. And I was like,
and you said, think with your head and not your heart.
I said, cry later, but get out your emotions and handle your business. Don't let this be an emotional thing. This stage that you're in, it's all business. Yes. We'll cry afterwards, but right now you ain't got time to cry, you know. But I knew just knowing you that wasn't your strength. That wasn't your strength. No. And
strategize. I'm not a strategy kind of, you know, person, but because you are in that world, the good old boys world, you know how they think. You do. And
and I'm a strategist by nature. And so to think of strategy, so, you know, just so the boys don't feel like I didn't share no secrets, I'm a strategist by nature. You know, I just need to be clear that I know how to be in a room and keep my mouth shut, but I'm a strategist by nature. And even when I went through my divorce, it was very much business. It was so business that I had to even check. It was weird to me because I went through the whole process without tears, and it was so business. I'll say the story. When we went to mediation, and and this is the first time we went while we were kind of getting the details of our divorce. We went to mediation, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. No, we're not. No, that's not going to happen. I had such a demeanor about me. You know, usually at mediation, they let the woman leave first, you know, make sure you get in your car, you and your lawyer leave first. Right. No, they let him leave first. They were like, sit here and you're going to wait until he leaves. What? And I was like, I thought I'm the female.
Listen, my friend is a boss, y'all. She's a boss.
But that's how business minded I was. Like, let me protect my coins. Let me make sure my kids are good. You know.
I'm telling you, because of your history, your experience, I mean, you even shared documents so that I can make sure you like, okay, let me tell you what to ask for, what to do. I mean, you helped me to really get through that season in a very logical, rational way, and to take all emotions out of it. So much so, I mean, I learned to become a boss in that season of my life.
Come on, boss lady. And then the emotions come. Like for me, I think, I saw in my papers like the judge finalized our divorce that Monday, maybe before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I woke up Thanksgiving morning and I had a full breakdown.
Yeah.
A full in the bed crying breakdown.
Wow.
And that's when the emotions hit me. And then I had to pull it together. So, and you go through cycles. You go through the anger stage. You go through the grieving. You go through the what ifs. You go through the whole, I'm all of this. You kind of go through that little, I was like, I don't want to call it pride, but this, listen, you're lost until you get to the place where you're like, what? This is me. I am the sum total of all my life experiences. Yeah. And this is me. And it's an humbling place, but you kind of have to go through some stages to get there. Yeah.
I want to ask you just one more question as we get ready to close. I want you to speak to the woman who's been in ministry, still in ministry, going through the divorce. What would you advise her, encourage her to do during this season of her life?
If you're going through a divorce and you're in ministry, I would say, maintain your integrity. I'll be honest, and this probably gonna really hit some. Going through my divorce, I may get in trouble for this one, but oh well. Going through my divorce, and now as a single, I had more married men hit on me than ever before.
Wow.
And I was determined to maintain my integrity.
Wow.
So my integrity was key for me. Be careful who you expose yourself to. Mm-hmm. Because as you're going through the stages, it is a very vulnerable place. Yeah. And you can't expose yourself to everybody. So be careful who you expose yourself to. Okay. Which goes along with the kind of covering thing. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Get the right covering and be careful of who and what you expose yourself to.
That's right. That's good.
I think, and this will kind of sound like a little shameless plug. I would say enjoy the table for one and figure it out. I wrote a book.
You wrote a book. Yeah, I would say y'all get her book, Table for One.
That's what I said. It's a little shameless.
No, I
table
love
for
it now.
And the reason why I say enjoy it and get to know yourself at the table for one, because when you go through the Bible and anytime there's a major destiny shift, mm-hmm. God meets you at a table for one. Mm. The woman at the well, she had such a past that was filled with broken relationships, yes. Filled with unkept promises, yes. Filled with unmet expectations. Mm-hmm. And the Bible says that Jesus waited for her at the well, mm-hmm. that he cared enough about her, that he waited for her to come to the well by herself, to have a one-on-one encounter with her. Had she not had that one-on-one encounter with Jesus, her whole destiny would have been on halt. Yeah. Because it was in that one encounter that he changed her name. Yes. He changed her legacy of what she was known for. And he shifted her into a whole nother season. Yes. Because even in our darkest moments, if we draw close to God, he will use what hurts us the most. Yeah. He will use those things that we've been through so that he can show off to the world his goodness, mm-hmm. and his favor upon your life. And so that would be my thing. Maintain your integrity. Yep. Watch who you expose yourself to, mm-hmm. and draw close to God, because in that season, you will find that he truly is the shepherd. He's going to lead you. He's going to guide you. Yeah. He's going to walk you through some tough seasons, but he'll also be there. Yes. The shadows of death, but he'll also be there in the green pastures. Right. And you got to stay focused that after every dark season, there is a table that has been prepared for you with your name on it. Yes. And he will put you in the presence of all those who talked about you and didn't think you make it. And he will show off and allow them to be at the table to witness the glory of God on your life. And that for me was my focus. Psalms 23 became more real through my divorce. You know, we learned that scripture growing up, but when you're walking through the valley, and you got to understand that it does get tough. And sometimes a shadow can scare you. He's with you, but he's already set up a table that puts you on Front Street and shows off to the world that he had you covered the whole time. So that's
California is my table right now. Being
here, yes,
my table. I'm grateful for it. But I'm grateful for our friendship, Dr. Irishea.
Yeah.
I love you so much, and I'm proud of you for not quitting along your journey and for pushing through your pain, pushing through all that, because you knew ultimately at the end of the day, I was going to need you. So many other women were going to need you.
Yeah, and you know, and you can probably testify of this. Although we may not have wanted to be in this place, there's a compassion that comes with being in this place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way more compassionate to people and what they go through and all of that when you go through a journey like this.
Yeah, so true, so true, so true.
And that relationship with God it's the anchor. So I'm proud of you.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate it.
I'm proud. I'm proud of you. You push through and you keep pushing through. And, you know, you have determined to make sure that people know Joy Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Not whatever label you have before your name.
That's right.
Know Joy Hill.
Right.
And when you get to know Joy Hill, you'll understand the amazing woman that she is. So I'm proud of you for being unbreakable.
Thank you.
And pushing.
Thank you. Well, I love you. Thanks again for being on this journey with me all these years, and for being on this Joy for the Journey conversation today. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be so blessed by what you had to say and peeking into our relationship and seeing just the goodness of God in and through both of us. So I love you.
I love you.
All right. Talk to you soon.